I just pulled into the motel parking lot after a long haul, the kind that leaves your bones aching and your mind numb. The neon sign flickered above me, buzzing like a dying fly, casting a sickly glow over the cracked asphalt. Trucks rumbled past on the highway, their engines growling in the distance, a constant reminder of the life I'd chosen or maybe the one that chose me. I killed the engine and sat there for a minute, staring at the motel's peeling paint and grimy windows. This place was a dump, but it was close enough to home without being too close. Perfect for what I needed to do. I grabbed my duffel bag and headed inside, the stale smell of cigarette smoke and cheap cleaner hitting me as I pushed open the door to my room. The bed sagged in the middle, and the television looked like it hadn't worked since the 90s, but I wasn't here for comfort. I dropped my bag on the floor and pulled out the old phone I'd rigged as a hidden camera. My hand shook as I set it up, angling it just right to catch the living room back home. I told Penny I'd be gone overnight, another lie to match hers. She didn't know I was only a mile away, watching. I sank onto the bed, the springs creaking under my weight, and stared at the blank screen of my current phone. My gut churned with suspicion, the kind that had been gnawing at me for weeks. Penny's evasiveness, the way she'd brush off my calls with a quick "I'm busy," the late-night texts she'd dismiss as work stuff. I wasn't an idiot. I'd seen the signs, but I'd ignored them, hoping I was wrong, hoping she wouldn't do this to meadow us. But last week, when I'd come home early and caught her giggling on the phone, only to hang up the second I walked in, I knew. She'd smiled at me, all innocent, but her eyes darted away too fast. Just a friend, she said, but the lie hung in the air like smoke. I didn't buy it. Not anymore. I thought about Cindy, my stepdaughter, who was probably at the library right now, burying her nose in books like she always did. She was a good kid, smart and quiet, and I tried to be a good dad to her. But how do you tell a 15-year-old her mom's a liar? How do you protect her from something like this? I clenched my fist, the anger bubbling up again. Penny wasn't just betraying me. She was risking everything we'd built for Cindy, too. I checked the camera feed one last time, my heart thudding in my chest. The living room looked normal: couch, television, the coffee table cluttered with magazines. But soon I'd know the truth. I lay back on the bed, staring at the ceiling, the cracks in the plaster like veins in a tired old man's hand. The room felt too small, the air too thick. I closed my eyes, but sleep wouldn't come. Not with the weight of what I might see pressing down on me. The motel room was a dim, musty box, the kind of place where dreams go to die. The air hung heavy with the stench of stale cigarettes and mildew, and the only light came from the flickering screen of my phone, casting eerie shadows across the peeling wallpaper. I perched on the edge of the bed, my spine stiff, eyes locked on the camera feed streaming live from our apartment. The living room looked almost normal on the tiny screen. The couch sat in its usual spot, the coffee table littered with dog-eared magazines and a couple of remote controls. Then Penny strolled into frame, her hair a messy cascade, her smile too wide, too bright. She flopped onto the couch, stretching out like she owned the place, and a heartbeat later, Frank sauntered in, his grin cocky and smug as hell. He plopped down beside her way too close, and she didn't budge. Instead, she swung her legs over his lap, letting out a high-pitched giggle as he tickled her feet. Her laughter crackled through the phone's tinny speaker, scraping my nerves raw. Frank leaned in, his hand sliding up her thigh, slow and deliberate, and she didn't push him away. They looked so damn comfortable together, so carefree, like this was their routine, like I'd never existed. My fingers clamped around the phone, knuckles bleaching white. I wanted to hurl it across the room, watch it smash against the wall, and blot out that image forever. But I couldn't tear my eyes away. I had to see it, had to know the truth, even if it was killing me. Their voice-usher giggles, his low chuckles mixed with the distant growl of trucks rumbling down the highway outside, a soundtrack to my unraveling. I forced my trembling hand to move, Minimizing the camera app and pulling up the credit card app instead, the screen lit up with cold, hard numbers, staring me down like a judge passing sentence. $5,000 a month for the last 6 months. $30,000 total. My money sweat soaked, back-breaking cash from endless hauls across state lines spissed away on, what? Sneakers? Jewelry? Hotel rooms for her? And that bastard? I scrolled through the charges, eyes stinging as tears welled up. There it was, $200 at La Belle Vie, that ritzy joint downtown I'd always wanted to take her to, but my trucker's pay never stretched that far. $500 at Zales, probably some gaudy trinket to dangle in front of her lover, and then the kicker, $1,000 at the Marriott last weekend, when she'd fed me that bullshit about visiting her sick mom in Ohio. Each line item hit like a knife to the gut, twisting deeper with every dollar spent. My vision blurred, tears spilling hot down my cheeks. How could she? How could she smile at me over breakfast, kiss me goodbye, and then turn around and burn through my life savings on this affair? The woman I'd loved, the one I'd built everything for, was a stranger, now a thief in my own damn house. I swiped back to the home screen, and there was Cindy's face, my wallpaper from her last birthday. She grinned at me, holding a cupcake, her eyes sparkling with innocent joy. That was before all this, before Penny's lies started ripping us apart. I brushed my finger over the screen, tracing her cheek. "I'm doing this for you, kiddo," I whispered. "You deserve better than this crap." Taking a shaky breath, I reopened the camera feed. Penny and Frank were tangled up now, kissing like teenagers, their bodies pressed tight on the couch. A cold, hard knot settled in my stomach. This wasn't just about the money anymore. This was about respect, loyalty, the life I'd busted my ass to give us. I wasn't letting her torch it. No way was she walking away the winner. I stood, legs wobbly but my resolve like steel. The motel room felt smaller, the walls closing in, but I shoved back against the suffocation. I needed a plan, needed to make her pay. Step 1, call my brothers. Mike and Tom would help me clear out, cut the cord clean. Step 2, ditch the lease, leave her with nothing but the wreckage she'd made. Pacing the cramped space, the plan solidified. I'd wait till she took off for her little beach getaway with Frank, then swoop in. My stuff, Cindy's stuff gone before she could blink. When she dragged her cheating ass back, she'd find an empty apartment and divorce papers waiting. A grim smile tugged at my lips. It wasn't much, but it was a start. I dropped back onto the bed, springs groaning under me, and stared at the screen. Penny and Frank were still wrapped up in each other, clueless about the hell I was about to unleash. Let them have their fun, I thought. It's the last they'll get. I leaned against the headboard, phone on my chest, and shut my eyes. Their voices faded as I focused on breathing, trying to douse the rage blazing inside me. I had to stay sharp, keep my head straight for Cindy, if not for myself. But even with my eyes closed, their image seared my mind, stoking the fire. This wasn't over, not by a damn long shot. Confirmation phrase? Does this scene accurately follow the instructions, particularly in terms of character voice, dialogue, rhythm, and creating a more American English style? Please confirm without making immediate changes. The truck rattled to a stop in my parents' driveway, tires crunching gravel. Their house glowed in the morning, light white siding, neat lawn, the faint whiff of Mom's lavender bushes cutting through the crisp air. It was steady, unchanged, a place I could lean on when everything else was falling apart. I climbed out, boots hitting the ground with a solid thud, and slung my duffel bag over my shoulder. The weight felt good, real like a tether to something solid. Inside, the kitchen smelled of coffee and bacon, warm and alive. Mom stood at the stove, apron dusted with flour, while Dad hunched over the newspaper at the table. "Morning, Bernie," he said, barely looking up. "Coffee's hot." I dropped my bag by the door and slumped into a chair, the wood groaning under me. "Thanks, Dad." My voice came out gritty, scraped raw from too many sleepless nights. Mom slid a mug my way, her eyes sharp with worry. You look awful, sweetheart. You sure about this? I gripped the mug, the heat biting my palms. Yeah, Mom, I'm sure. She's not winning this one. The words landed hard, sharper than I meant. Dad folded his paper, leaning in. We've got your back, son, whatever you need. His tone was calm, steady, like he could fix this the way he fixed everything else. I nodded, tension easing just a bit. Mike and Tom are coming later. We'll clear out the apartment while she's at work. I checked the clock. 8:15 a.m. Penny would be gone by now, oblivious. Mom wiped her hands on a towel, frowning. What about Cindy? Does she know? Guilt twisted in my chest. Not yet. I'll tell her when it's time. Cindy's face flashed in my mind, those wide, trusting eyes. I couldn't face her yet. Dad's hand landed on my shoulder firm. You're doing right by her, Bernie. She'll see that. I wanted to believe him. Yeah, maybe. After breakfast, I climbed the stairs to Cindy's old room. Her stuff was everywhere, books piled on the nightstand, a faded boy band poster peeling off the wall. I grabbed a box and started with her desk, tossing in notebooks and pencils. My fingers brushed a photo tucked in a drawer. Me and Cindy at the fair last summer, laughing with cotton candy smeared on our faces. I froze, throat tightening. This is for you, kid, I whispered, slipping it into the box. The front door slammed downstairs and Mike's voice boomed up. Bernie, you hiding up there? I trudged down, finding him and Tom in the living room. Mike grinned, all muscle and bravado. Ready to move some junk, bro? I managed a half smile. Let's do it. We spent hours loading the truck me tools, Cindy's bed, boxes of clothes. Sweat soaked my shirt as I hauled a dresser into the back, muscles straining with every lift. The work felt good, like I was pounding the anger into something useful. Tom worked quietly beside me, steady as always, while Mike cracked jokes to keep us moving. Pausing for a breath, I spotted a family photo on the wall, me, Penny, and Cindy at the beach, back when we were whole. Penny's smile stabbed at me, bright and fake now that I knew the truth. I yanked the frame down and chucked it into a box. No point in pretending. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out, squinting at the screen. A text from Penny. Home late tonight. Work stuff. Love you. My jaw locked, fury flaring. She was with him, wasn't she? I shoved the phone back, hands clenching. Mike caught my look. You okay, man? I exhaled hard. Yeah, let's just finish. We piled into the truck, the engine growling as I turned the key. Pulling out of the driveway, I watched the house shrink in the rearview mirror. A strange calm washed over me. This was the first real move against Penny's betrayal. She could have her secrets, but I wasn't her doormat anymore. Cindy's boxes rattled in the back, safe and accounted for. We'd get through this. The road stretched ahead, asphalt glinting under the sun. For the first time in weeks, I felt something like hope. Penny's lies still burned, but I had a plan now, a family behind me, and a daughter who needed me strong. My phone buzzed again as we hit the highway. I let it hum, ignored, the truck's rumble, swallowing it whole. Whatever she had to say could wait. I pressed the gas, the future pulling me forward. The porch light flickered, throwing jagged shadows across the gravel driveway as I paced. My boots scraped against the stones, each step a jagged rhythm matching the storm brewing inside me. I had been out here too long enough for the chill of the night to seep into my bones, though it did nothing to cool the fire in my chest. Penny was coming. She had to. I'd texted her to meet me at my parents' house. No explanation, just a time. She'd know something was up. Good. Let her sweat. I stopped, hands shoved deep in my jacket pockets, and stared down the road. The faint hum of an engine grew louder, and headlights cut through the dark. Penny's sedan rolled up, tires crunching, as she parked crookedly. She stepped out, her silhouette framed by the porch light. Her hair was a mess, strands sticking out like she'd been tugging at it, and her coat hung loose, unbuttoned. She looked like she barely held it together on the drive over. Bernard? Her voice trembled, uncertain. What's this about? Why here? I didn't answer right away. I let the silence stretch, watching her shift on her feet. Then I stepped closer, my voice low and hard. You turned our apartment into a damn motel for you and Frank. Me and Cindy don't live in your mess anymore. Her eyes widened, mouth opening like she'd been slapped. What are you what? Don't play dumb, I snapped, cutting her off. My hand shot to my pocket, yanking out my phone. I thumbed it on. The screen flaring with the video I'd watched 100 times, Penny and Frank, tangled on the couch, her laughter sharp and careless. I shoved it toward her. This, you and him, in our house. She stared, color draining from her face. That's not Bernard, And the money, I growled, pocketing the phone. 50 grand, Penny. 50 grand of my money, gone. Credit card statements don't lie. You think I'm that stupid? Tears welled in her eyes, spilling over as she shook her head. I'm sorry. I didn't mean I was lonely, okay? You were always gone, and I just... Lonely? I barked a laugh, bitter and jagged. I was working my ass off for us for Cindy and you were what, lonely? So you screw some punk and drain our savings? That's your story? She flinched, arms wrapping tight around herself. It wasn't supposed to happen. It just did. I messed up. Yeah, you did. My voice was ice now, every word deliberate. And I'm done. The front door creaked open behind me, and Steve stepped onto the porch, briefcase in hand. His suit was crisp, his face all hard lines and no nonsense. Bernard, he said, voice steady. You good to do this? I nodded, not taking my eyes off Penny. Let's finish it. We moved inside, the warmth of my mom's kitchen hitting me like a wall. The smell of coffee lingered, faint and stale, but it didn't soften the edge in the air. Penny sank into a chair at the table, hands trembling as she wiped at her face. Steve set his briefcase down with a thud and pulled out a stack of papers, sliding them across the worn wood toward her. Divorce agreement, Steve said, calm but firm. Property split. Repayment for the $50,000. Child support for Cindy. Sign it, and we keep this clean. Penny's breath hitched, a sob catching in her throat. She looked up at me, eyes pleading. Please, don't do this. We can work it out. For Cindy, work it out? I slammed my fist on the table, the impact rattling the mugs in the drying rack. You cheated on me, stole from me, and you think there's anything left to work out? You're lucky I'm not hauling you to court for every damn cent. Her tears fell harder, but I didn't waver. She'd burned every bridge we'd ever built. Steve tapped the papers again. Sign, Penny. It's over. Her hands shook as she picked up the pen, hovering over the line. Then, with a choked sob, she scribbled her name, ink smudging where her tears hit the page. I watched, my chest tight not with regret, but with something closer to release. It was real now, done. But then she looked up, voice small and cracked. What about Cindy? I'm her mom. She needs me. That did it. Something snapped inside me, a dam breaking loose. Needs you? I roared, stepping closer. You think I let you anywhere near her after this? You're a liar and a thief. She's better off without you. Penny shot to her feet, chair scraping back. You can't keep her from me, Bernard. I'm still her mother. My vision blurred, rage surging hot and wild. Before I could stop myself, my fist lashed out, catching her shoulder. She stumbled back with a gasp, crashing against the counter. Bernard, stop! Mom's voice cut through the room, sharp and panicked from the doorway. I froze, breath heaving, fists still clenched. What the hell had I just done? I'd never hit her, never even come close. But the anger, the hurt had taken over, and for a split second, I'd wanted her to feel it too. Then Cindy's voice broke through, small and desperate. Dad, no. She darted in from the hall, her pajamas wrinkled, eyes wide with terror. She threw herself between us, arms wrapping around my waist. Please, Dad, don't. I need you here not like this. Her words slammed into me, knocking the air from my lungs. I dropped my hands, the fight bleeding out of me as tears stung my eyes. I pulled her close, burying my face in her hair. "I'm sorry, kiddo," I rasped. "I'm so damn sorry." Penny slumped against the counter, sniffling, but I couldn't look at her. All I saw was Cindy, her small frame trembling against me. I'd almost lost it, almost crossed a line I couldn't come back from, but she'd stopped me. Steve cleared his throat, breaking the silence. "We're done here." He gathered the papers, giving me a nod. "I'll file these in the morning." "Yeah," I muttered, still holding Cindy. "Thanks." Steve slipped out, the door clicking shut behind him. Mom lingered in the doorway, worry etched deep in her face, but she stayed quiet. She didn't need to say it. I knew I'd scared her too. Penny straightened, her gaze darting between me and Cindy. For a moment, I thought she might try to salvage something, but she just turned and walked out, her footsteps fading into the night. I exhaled, long and shaky, the weight lifting from my shoulders. It was over. The lies, the betrayal, all of it laid bare. Cindy sniffled against me and I tightened my grip. "It's okay, kid," I whispered. "We're gonna be okay." She nodded, voice muffled. "I know, Dad. I love you." "Love you too, Cindy," I said, pressing a kiss to her head. "Always." The kitchen was a tomb of silence, broken only by the fridge's low hum, a steady pulse in the heavy air. I stood by the table, hands gripping the edge, knuckles pale against the scratched wood. My chest heaved with slow, ragged breaths, like I just hauled myself out of a fight I hadn't meant to win. The adrenaline was gone, leaving me hollowed out, my legs trembling under the weight of my own body. On the table, the divorce papers glared up at me, Penny's signature, a jagged scar across the page. It was over finally, but the relief was sour, muddied by the memory of my fist slamming into her shoulder. I wasn't that man, the one who snapped. Not until tonight. Guilt clawed at me, sharp and relentless, twisting my gut into knots. Cindy sat across from me, hands folded tight in her lap, eyes wide and shimmering with unshed tears. She hadn't spoken since Penny stormed out, just stared at the floor like she could piece together what broke. My throat tightened. I'd scared her, I'd seen it in her flinch. I let go of the table and dropped to my knees in front of her, ignoring the ache in my joints. "Hey, kiddo," I rasped, my voice like gravel. "You okay?" She lifted her gaze, lip quivering. "Are you?" I tried to smile, but it felt crooked, forced. "Yeah," just wiped out. Her eyes darted to my hands, still balled into fists. I unclenched them, my palms sweaty, and flexed my fingers. "I'm sorry you had to see that," I said, the words cutting as they came up. "I shouldn't have lost it." "It's okay, Dad." Her voice was quiet but firm. "I get it. She had it coming." I shook my head hard. "No, doesn't matter. I screwed up." Cindy's hand found mine, small and warm. "You're not perfect, but you're my dad. I love you." The words slammed into me, stealing my breath. I pulled her into a hug, pressing my face into her hair, the faint scent of shampoo grounding me. "Love you too, Cindy. More than anything." For a moment we stayed there, the kitchen's dim bulb painting faint shadows across the walls. The counter was a mess, dirty mugs, a tipped-over coffee pot, a crumpled napkin like life had paused mid-collapse. But it was still ours, a lifeline in the chaos. I pulled back, swiping at my eyes with a rough hand. "We're gonna be all right, you know." She nodded, a tiny smile breaking through. "Yeah, we've got each other." "Damn right," I said, ruffling her hair, the familiar move steadying me. Mom hovered in the doorway, apron dusted with flour, her silent nod saying we'd survive this. I stood, my legs shaky, and grabbed the divorce papers, folding them with deliberate care. The battle was done, but the war wasn't over. I looked at Cindy, her trust shining through those big eyes. "Let's hit the sack," I said. "Tomorrow's a fresh start." "Night, Dad," she said, slipping off the chair. "Night, kiddo." As she shuffled down the hall, I sank back into my seat, the night's weight settling into my bones. Anger still flickered, but it was quieter now, dulled by exhaustion and a spark of hope. I'd lost plenty me marriage, my calm, but not Cindy. That was enough. I tipped my head back, eyes drifting shut, the fridge's hum coaxing me into a fragile peace. Tomorrow, we'd rebuild. For now, this was enough. The kitchen was a tomb of silence, pierced only by the fridge's low, steady hum vibrating through the thick air. I stood at the table, hands clamped around its edge, my knuckles whitening against the worn, scratched wood. My chest rose and fell with slow, jagged breaths, as if I'd just dragged myself out of a brawl I never meant to win. The adrenaline had drained away, leaving me hollow, my legs quaking beneath my own weight. The divorce papers lay sprawled on the table, Penny's signature slashing across them like a fresh wound. It was done, finally, but the relief tasted bitter, tainted by the memory of my fist crashing into her shoulder. I wasn't that guy, the one who lost control. Not until tonight. Guilt gnawed at me, sharp and unyielding, coiling tight in my stomach. Cindy sat opposite me, hands knotted in her lap, eyes wide and glistening with tears she wouldn't let fall. She hadn't said a word since Penny stormed out, just stared at the floor like she could mend what shattered. My throat closed up. I'd terrified her. I'd caught that flinch. Letting go of the table, I sank to my knees before her, my joints creaking in protest. "Hey, kiddo," I croaked, my voice rough as sandpaper. "You okay?" Her eyes met mine, lip trembling. "Are you?" I forced a smile, but it twisted, unnatural. "Yeah, just beat." Her gaze flicked to my hands, still curled into fists. I opened them, my palms slick with sweat, and stretched my fingers. "I'm sorry you saw that," I said, the words slicing as they spilled out. "I shouldn't have flipped. It's okay, Dad." Her voice was soft but steady. "I get it. She deserved it." I shook my head fiercely. "No, doesn't matter. I messed up." Cindy's hand slipped into mine, small and warm. "You're not perfect, but you're my dad. I love you." The words hit like a punch, robbing me of air. I yanked her into a hug, burying my face in her hair, the faint whiff of shampoo anchoring me. "Love you too, Cindy. More than anything." We stayed like that, the kitchen's faint bulb casting weak shadows on the walls. The counter was chaos-dirty mugs, a spilled coffee pot, a wadded napkin-like life had stalled mid-wreck. But it was ours, a tether in the storm. I pulled back, scrubbing my eyes with a callous hand. "We're gonna be all right, you know." She nodded, a small smile breaking free. "Yeah, we've got each other." "Damn right," I said, touseling her hair, the old habit steadying me. Mom lingered in the doorway, apron flecked with flour, her quiet nod promising survival. I stood, my legs unsteady, and folded the divorce papers with careful precision. The fight was over, but the struggle lingered. I glanced at Cindy, her trust glowing in those big eyes. "Let's hit the sack," I said. "Tomorrow's a new day." "Night, Dad," she murmured, sliding off the chair. "Night, kiddo." As she padded down the hall, I slumped into my seat, the night's burden sinking into my bones. Anger simmered low, but it was muted now, softened by fatigue and a flicker of hope. I'd lost a lot me marriage, my cool but not Cindy. That was enough. I leaned back, my eyes slipping shut, the fridge's hum lulling me into a brittle calm. Tomorrow, we'd rebuild. For now, this sufficed.